Isn't that a Bay City Rollers song? Hey Gary, I've got a question for you.
Hang on, have we started, or are you just saying?
Yeah,
this to me? Right, have we started? Oh, you started in a kind of weird, funky sort of way, just by asking me a question. You didn't even say welcome to the show. That's great.
Yeah.
If you cut out all my audio just then, I'll be really annoyed. Don't do that.
I was downstairs. It was 8 o'clock in the morning, and I was sort of blurry-eyed. And I was making a cup of coffee. My housemate came in, with his partner.
Or landlord.
Yeah, subletter. I don't like the word housemate either because it implies that you're even.
No, he doesn't live in your house. He's not. You're not like one house where you can go freely in all the rooms. Otherwise, he'd be in your room right now, probably.
Well, I'd call it a flat enemy. Like that's the way the relationship's moving. Anyway, he comes in the kitchen and he was like, "Oh, how's your year treating you? We don't really talk that much." And I was like, "Oh, it's all right. Make a little joke. Oh, same as last year." La, la, la. And I was like, "Oh, but
it's like Harry Hill.
Way. Yeah, vaccine on its
vaccine's
on its way. That's good." And he was like, "Fuck that. I'm not taking the vaccine. It's a lie. It's all a lie. Have you seen Boris Johnson taking it? Has he taken it? Man, it's a lie. We gotta wait till it's been tested before we do it. Don't produce this stuff that's like." So my response to these things has always been
to agree with them, pretend you agree.
To agree with them and pretend I agree, and then have a massive event on a public podcast. I wanted to ask you, Gary, how do you react to someone who has unequivocally confirmed their status as clearly an anti-vaxxer? And this isn't politics, by the way.
Yeah, well, I had a similar. It wasn't a verbal thing, but one of my friends who's a bit weird, and he's like an eco kind of warrior. He's into really weird stuff, and I think he does drugs. But he said
this guy was definitely stoned or drunk, which led the question like, what the hell was he doing to come into the house at 8 o'clock in the morning?
No, that's better. But this guy sent me a petition. It was just a petition, just over WhatsApp. First communication I've had with him in about a year. Petition like, don't remove the passport of people who don't have the vaccine. They should be able to go freely wherever they want. And clearly it's from an anti-vaxxer point of view, saying like, oh, it's terrible the way people who aren't going to be taking the vaccine are treated by limiting where they can go. Obviously I didn't sign the petition, but I would just say, look, I sent back to him and he hasn't replied. I said, Rich, come on, mate, come on. I said, if you're offered the vaccine, do me one favour, please just take it. And he didn't reply. But so it's difficult to deal with them. I dealt with one at work as well. This was years ago, way before COVID. And she was talking about, she's a normal person, talking to her at lunch, like we had chats, she was interested. And then one day she said, talked about, someone mentioned the vaccine. She said, I'm not getting the MMR jab for my kids. I'm not getting that for my kids. And basically, I think that's like child abuse. But I didn't say that. I didn't know how to deal with it at the time. It's very difficult because they're so, if they believe in that, they're so entrenched in their view that reason and argument aren't going to work with them. You could be as reasonable and as well evidenced in your argument as possible, and it wouldn't make a difference. So it's kind of not worth engaging them. Some probably might.
But isn't that like how you get anywhere though in these kind of like debates? Like,
well, I like debating, but I there's certain things that views that people have are entrenched. Their view is not based in any way on evidence or rationality. It's based on a victim stroke, what I call a victim stroke hero complex, where they position themselves.
TM Gary Forrestal.
That is my thing. That's my thing. Do not print that in the Guardian next week, Owen Jones or someone, whoever's listening. But no, they want them to see themselves as victims. So they believe inevitably they will believe that 9/11 was a hoax. They'll believe that we didn't land on the moon. If you ask, I'm sure, like lots of them, not all of them, but people who believe in conspiracies, including anti-vaxxers, want to be victims of like the government and bigger. Oh God, people are trying to make me take a vaccine, you know. But they're also heroes because, like, well, I've seen the truth and you haven't. All the you people, you sheeple, you haven't seen the truth, but I have. And it's quite sad, really. But when the mentality is that entrenched, I think it's easier to argue with someone who is racist or say a Donald Trump supporter, because their judgment is based on evidence that is kind of distorted and genuine reasons. There's genuine reasons why people vote for Trump, and economic anxiety, things like that. And you can argue that with them, and they probably won't be swayed, but you can at least argue with them. An anti-vaxxer is so entrenched. Like, you trying to convince someone that 9/11 wasn't a hoax or what wasn't planned by the US government, who believes it, you are wasting your time. You will never ever convince them.
Yeah.
There's nothing.
But you feel like saying, you know, what about like smallpox or polio? You know, how would these like things not necessarily limited or like shorted, or, you know,
no difference. It wouldn't sway them.
But like, surely if you hold those attitudes about a vaccine, which is like scientifically tested to like prove, you know, to get vaccinated and then inoculate.
No, they lie to you. Scientists, they're lying to you.
But it's like, but then surely you must have those attitudes about any form of medication, right? Like penicillin. Even like something simple as like fucking paracetamol. Like, I take paracetamol because I headache, but they probably think, you know, it will turn you into a frog man.
No, well, I don't know, but as I say, they'll just say, no, the scientists are lying to you, there is no evidence base. I think it's particularly with vaccines. Basically, a lot of this came from one individual who is one of the most destructive individuals who has ever lived during, say, our lifetimes. And I think he's called
Gary Forrester.
I'm second or third on the list, but he's called Matthew something, Matthew Harding or something like that. He wrote a paper that said that the MMR jab is dangerous for children because it can give them autism. When his study was looked into, right, and peer reviewed, it was complete bullshit. He paid children to take the vaccine, and he did it at a child's birthday party. There was it was completely non-evidence based, and you can come up with all sorts of results if you don't do ethical studies. Very unethical, but also inaccurate. And that study was the genesis for all of this anti-vaxxer movement that there is today, because people, as soon as it was peer reviewed, it was destroyed, and like loads of actual evidence-based studies proved that that was not the case. But people still, they won't believe that his paper wasn't true. And it's not just that his paper won't sway, well, most people, because they have the evidence that it's not, the paper is bullshit. But if you've got that sort of mindset where you kind of want to be a victim and you want to be a hero at the same time, you will fall into that mindset of, yeah, no, I'm believing that. I'm not believing anything else. It doesn't matter what study comes out. I believe that vaccination, the MMR jab, gives my children autism or cancer. I'm not going to change. And it's very difficult to argue with those people. And incredibly frustrating.
It's like the same sort of people, you know, it's like Chris Campling thinking that Karl Pilkington wasn't a real person. Who is actually from Ipswich. I checked him out on LinkedIn. Anyway, we're all getting very, very down.
Gets drunk sometimes and checks out people's profiles and emails like Bacon's agent, and, you know, drunk kind of looks for people.
Hey, news for all you D-Trouties out there. We might be getting Richard Bacon on the podcast, because I actually had a very positive response from his agent. So I'm deeply excited about that. Gary's on the hunt after Russell Brand.
And still Claire, but, you know, I don't know, that ship might have sailed, but we shall see. But yes, as you were about to say, and I will say now, this is the D-Trout Spinners. No, this is D-Trout Spinners. This is D-Trout Spinners. Yeah? See the difference? We have got now coming up, we're going to be reviewing episode 41 of season 2. We will have general discussion about the show. We'll have our favourite quote section, bit of XFM in the community. Mars is going to say a poll that is very damning on us. I think it's going to be that says people should not listen to the show on Reddit.
You haven't seen the results yet?
No, but I know what they're going to be. So yeah, we've got that destructive poll coming up, and so stay tuned. But you might want to go back and listen to episode 41 of season 2 of the Ricky Gervais Show on XFM before listening to the rest of this show. And I believe Miles posts a link, don't you, on the
Hey, you do your job.
The internet post.
Do my job for me. That's why we don't pay
Well,
you anything.
yeah, I'm just switching.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Chill
So when you're ready, come back and join us. Welcome back. This is the D Trout Smiths with Miles Pennell, Gary Forrest.
Do you think anyone ever does leave at that point and go?
I hope they do. I know that. Well, there is a note of that coming later in that damning poll that we mentioned, still to come. This week, as Gary said, we discuss episode 41. This was originally broadcast 7th of June 2003. Springsteen has an armpit fetish, hankies and back pockets. Karl has the research. Karl won't leave the hotel room in Tenerife due to his state of arousal. Discussion about dying, cloning, and our last day on Earth. The weekly episodes of Blockbusters, Cheeky Freak of the Week, and Monkey News with 2 Monkey News this week bonus. Gary, what are your thoughts on this episode?
Why are you talking like that?
I don't know.
Yeah, I like it. As I said couple of episodes ago, there's a run of 5 or 6 episodes now that I really do like. I like this one. It's not up there with one of my favourites, but it's very good. It's got some sweet moments in it which I'll come to, one in particular which I do like. There's noticeable this episode for the amount of planning that's gone into it. There's a lot of pre-planning and I think they really did take the hit. Like, they did feel bad about not winning a Sony, even a bronze. So they've been getting more and more planning into the show. And this one, there's quite a lot. There's a few things that have been planned, like the thing about looks has obviously been planned between Ricky and Karl. Steve doesn't know about it, which makes it brilliant. But then they talk about Bruce Springsteen, which again they planned that before the show. I'm not saying they scripted it, but they planned it. And then he says later, what's Ronan? So they're obviously reading from a list. Do you know what I mean, of things they're going to talk about. So it doesn't make the show any worse or better, but it's just.
I love that though. If that was their planning, it's like just writing the word Ronan. What's Ronan?
That's what I would do. That I just write one word. The episode, not all of the bits of the episode do it for me, but in general I think it's a good one, and just another wonderful, I'm going to call it CFOTW because I don't want to say because I get worried about my university.
All right,
it's Cheeky Freak of the Week. Okay, I see you just looking with a blank expression. You don't know what I'm talking about, but yeah, I do. I that's the highlight of the episode for me. One of the lines in particular.
Would you say Chang and Ang? So you would go they and them? Is that what you would say?
They and them?
Just to be gender neutral and balanced and fair.
To be honest, I think gender neutrality is the last of their problems. So I don't think they're bothered about what.
You've lost 500 quid of your bursary money right there. I was going to ask you, Gary, say we're going to meet into a restaurant. Nothing's going. That's something I've always done as well. The way Karl says restaurant. I've carried that with me for quite a long time now.
I don't remember you saying restaurant like that ever.
Restaurant.
Are you sure you do?
Yeah, sometimes, not all the time. People don't do that all the time, do they? Anyway, if we were meeting in a restaurant
which we have done.
We've done that a few times, but I can't see you, and the waiter comes over to me and says, how would you describe them? So I would say, first and foremost, I would go, imagine Brian Blessed. Right, imagine Brian Blessed with the beard and everything, the big bulky beard, but really dial down the levels of energy to almost like snail sloth levels. He's probably got a glass of wine in him. I said, just imagine that, and you go, yeah, it's over there, mate.
You've taken a great man, brilliant man, and then you've removed his best quality from him, and said and talked about his worst.
Hello, Gary Forrestal. He's over there.
It's me. Yeah. What would I say you as? I'd say if you got Miles Pennell in. Oh, I don't know who Miles. I don't know.
I said what? You don't know who Miles Pennell is?
Have you got a guy trying to be liked by everyone around him? Who's great? grown a sort of a moustache, you know, to have a sort of character trait that people talk about, and he's basically agreeing with everything that everyone says to him, even if he doesn't agree. Have you got someone who's doing that? Or he says, yeah, he's over there. That's what I'd say.
See, mine was quite a nice, jolly, joyful character assassination over here.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah, as if you didn't. Like, dial down the pace to a slow. Like, take all the energy away. Yeah, that's not character assassination.
No, thanks very much.
I'm going to go and vote in that Reddit poll. Stop, not listen.
Hey, no, I think, and then we'd meet up and we'd have a gay old time, wouldn't we, in that restaurant?
You'd be checking out the waitresses.
That's so not true. So
you have done. Yeah, so there's a sweet moment I like in it where it's one of the few moments that I've always liked this moment and not really consciously thought about why, but it's one of the few moments that Ricky talks to Karl in a genuinely as if he's a functioning human being and he's kind of engaging with him. It's only one line where he's talking about Danny Minogue and he says a few lines and he says, why do people do that? And Ricky says, well, to get in all the hits. I know what you mean. And that's just a nice moment. You will not find a moment like that across the whole show. Like, Karl's given a genuine opinion on something. Ricky could, what he would usually do is find fault in it or find something funny in it or destroy him. And actually that makes for a great show. That's why we all love the show. That's why it's legendary as it is. I would like it to be like that, but it's just not, because it's always like that. It's nice that it's just, go back and listen if you don't get what I'm saying to the way he says it. It's like Karl's a real person and it's so rare. And it's only a little, very subtle moment, but it's just a nice little moment. Go back and listen because you'll think, oh, you sure? I'm sure it's not like that. But go and listen and you'll
I think that's quite a nice thing to sort of pick up. I've never thought that before, but you must think, because the majority of your time is a friendship. Though you might be a bit sort of jovial and like piss takey, like you can't be like that all the time. So it would be so sweet to be in that room, like, you know, when they have like an honest, deep, like heart to heart, which they probably did have at that time.
But in general, I think even off air, that's why we love the show, because it genuinely is the case that I'm sure off air it was very similar to on air. Like there will be very little difference. So I don't think they probably do have. I think Ricky just uses Karl for humour, and I don't kind of, I'm not saying, oh God, he's terrible for doing that. He's got great humour out of Karl, and Karl kind of has gone along with it in his own way. But it's just nice, those little moments where he's kind of, you know, he sort of starts to say, well, to get in all the hits, and then he's not planning. Not that he plans his comebacks to Karl, but he sort of plans as he's saying it. How can I make this funny? And he plans instantly. It's a great skill. You might think, oh, that's always, they always speak like that, but they don't. Honestly, go like through the shows. I'm sure I can't remember everything, but they don't have that. Ricky doesn't react like that unless it's an incidental sentence where they're having a normal conversation. Karl's given an opinion that could easily be taken down, you know, or, you know, could easily be made fun of by Ricky because he's so clever, he can come up with humour from anything. But he doesn't. He just says like, yeah, I know what you mean. And he's like, he agrees with Karl, like, yeah, you've given a good opinion. Yeah, I get what you mean. Just nice little moment.
This episode for me, like, it doesn't quite land for me. Like it's an episode of, it feels very nothing to me.
Lots of different parts. Yeah, I know what you mean.
And there are things that I really like about it. For instance, I love the monkey chat at the end, when he's having to go at Steve at the end.
Yeah, that's one of the classics.
That is the classic, you know.
Go see my tweet that I did. I'd spent about 3 hours doing.
Whereas when you get the ... Steve. And this has seemed that is a quote that will live on, you know, through the ages. Like, it's really used, everyone knows it, and it's great. So I love that story. This is a very, very superficial comment to make on the episode itself, but the sound quality and levels of audio are really they're really bad in this episode, and it's weird because it's kind of an anomaly in all of them, because I obviously understand the fact they're old shows and, you know, they probably had issues with like recording equipment, and we can't hold people accountable for having, goodness me, like this show is proof of that. But there's bits where it cuts out. I've listened to several versions of this episode where you hear links that aren't in other versions. There's a huge gap at one point when an REM song is meant to be playing, and then
I didn't know. Is there another version of that where there is audio?
There's loads.
I've never heard.
No, it kind of comes
It
in.
plays again. It plays again,
Yeah.
doesn't it? It plays
Yeah,
twice, like that, because their audio at the beginning, what they're saying, like it sounds like they're speaking when the record's playing, but it's not. It's the audio that you've just heard. Yeah, there's a massive mistake there. Something went wrong that day because again, like I don't see that much of a problem with the audio being
No, I
that.
know why.
But it is, no, I know, but it is different, but it really places it for me. It's like I was saying to Andy of the Simpsons podcast, like if it's, I can place the Simpsons episode by the quality of the visual of the artwork. If it's really sharp and good, I know I'm not going to like the episode. If it's the old quality, I'm going to like the episode because I can place it immediately. I know it's season 6-5 by the quality of the drawing because it got progressively better. With this one, I can place it immediately. If I'm on shows previously or after this, I'm like, oh, I'm around the 40s, I'm in the 30s, something like that. But this one, I know 41. I know I'm 41 because of the audio quality, like, and I picked up on it. It sort of sections it out from the rest. Yeah, it is poor. Something obviously was wrong with the something at XFM that day because there's multiple problems with the audio, but it's just noticeable. You can just hear it in their voices right at the beginning. It's kind of sounds, and it makes it sound like, or it makes it seem when you're listening to it like it's a different show with different people.
Yeah, that's how I feel about it. Yeah.
Now it's the same show when you get into it, and they've got all the same sort of things, and it's a good show. I like it, but it sounds like it's different, like it's a different show. It's not the Ricky Gervais show on XFM. It's just weird, you know.
I think there's a couple of good questions that come from the episode. Like, obviously, what would you do if you had one day left on Earth? Carl's he's gonna watch 24. Ricky's gonna mow down people in a Chrysler. And I was like, oh, what would I do? Because I actually quite like that question. Like, say an asteroid's gonna hit there. I know I spend a lot of time catastrophizing a lot of my life anyway, so it is a concern of me. But what would you do if you had
testicles? But not an asteroid, but mainly about your testicles. But anyway, yeah. But yeah, so what would you do? We get the premise. What would you do then to bring up?
Do you know what? I think I'd be too anxious thinking what I'd do that I wouldn't do anything.
Yeah, I think that's the answer that would be true for most people. If you really knew it was your last day,
would you go out and just commit a murder for no reason? I'd probably tell people I probably would go around and tell people what I truly thought of them before, and then have no friends left.
It's like the only time you've ever been honest in your life. Like, it's not like, what did you say at the time, Frey Bentos? So you actually did say what you thought.
Just to tie up any loose ends, just to go, you thought I liked you. I didn't, Mum. All right? I'm joking. I would never say.
No, you are joking.
I would.
Miles loves his mummy.
That's true. I probably would go back home and spend it with my mum. Is the honest answer.
Come and spend it with me, mate. That's what you'd do.
I'd just get pissed and smoke loads of fags.
Yeah, do we just go to
smoke fans out there? I'm 3 weeks clean, everyone. For those who are interested, so
I'm about 16 minutes clean because I had one before the show. No, Mars has done really well. Like, I'm really impressed. Yeah.
And what would you do? What would you do on your last day?
I don't know. I just kind of I'd probably burn all my photos and set fire to my flat in the end, and kind of because I don't want my neighbours to live as well. If everyone's going to die anyway, I wouldn't bother doing that. And I'd go and I'd count my money, which I don't have much of, and I'd max out my credit cards. Might as well do that.
That would be quite fun, actually, just to literally, I'll tell you what, just to see how much money you could burn out and getting as much legal trouble without traditional consequence, even though you've got one day left.
Yeah, but not serious crimes, but I'd probably jaywalk, let's say, like walking on the road, or might go and hit a duck.
Kick a duck up the arse.
In the pond that I go to, which I was telling you about off air.
The loneliest pond.
But yeah, I think we wouldn't do anything, to be honest, if we knew it was our last day. It's a good, like, cycle. The way Ricky explains it is quite good, actually. He's good at that. Like, say you're not ill, you're going to die in your sleep, but you didn't know when you were going to die. This is a different concept, but that's a really good way of explaining the concept of kind of living for the moment all the time and not worrying about death. I've never found those bits of the show the most interesting, but they're all right,
But that's what I mean. I don't find any of it quite interesting. Like, got another bit here. I never thought of the word you know the phrase when he says sleight of hand linguistically?
Yeah.
That phrase, I don't know why. I'm just thinking of pertinent
not like
things
a
that kind
known
of
phrase,
stick with. Exactly. And that's why I'm like, I lost you somewhere. I lost you somewhere. It wasn't sleight. I think it was sleight of hand linguistic. And they're trying to go, yeah, we got one up on Karl, but it's like, is it a phrase? You know, you've kind of made up something that isn't a phrase and expecting him to understand it. And it's not a hard thing to understand. Surely everyone would know what that means.
No, a lot of people wouldn't understand that. A lot of people
Okay,
wouldn't understand.
but even so, it's not a phrase that people use in the same way that I'm a big fan of catchphrase, right? But if you watch catchphrase, they're running out of phrases now.
No, they reuse old ones.
Yeah, but they might reuse old ones, but they use phrases that aren't even catchphrases. Like they'll do like
Still Stephen Mulhern.
Yeah, Mulhern's doing it. My mum loves him.
He'll never live up to
Roy.
Roy. No, Roy. I can't
They do things like rock driller, and it'd be just like a picture of a drill and a rock. It's like, no, you need the classic phrases.
Yeah, no, I think you're overthinking this point, because it's irrelevant whether it's a phrase. It's just not everything we say is a phrase. Like if I said a sentence to you and then said I've made out like you don't understand it. Where did I lose you in the sentence? You wouldn't be able to say, well, in that sentence you didn't say an exact phrase and like a known phrase. It's nothing to do with whether it's a phrase or not. It's whether you understand sleight of hand linguistically. I get your point. Like it is a bit. It's like not really a thing to take the bait. They don't do it in the phone. And actually, it's a bit. Yeah, it's not the most easy thing to understand, but
but it's a janky sentence as well. Like it's a janky phrase.
Yeah, well, it makes sense linguistically to use the word linguistically to actually describe it, not even though it includes it, but it makes sense. But it's a weird phrase and it's a weird thing to say. Like, so yeah, and actually that's the thing with Karl. A lot of these things, like, he probably did understand that, but the thing with Karl is, and because he knows his role in the show, he's not acting. So before people get angry and annoyed and say, oh, he's not acting, but he knows his role. Now, most people, if you said, where did you lose him? And then Steve says, I think sleight of hand linguistically, most people in Karl's position would have said, I didn't lose you there at all. I was just thinking, yeah, I know what you mean. Of course I know you. But Karl kind of doesn't push back at all. Like he sort of just leaves it in a lot of those situations because he knows that that's funnier. And I get why he's doing, he knows it's funnier. So it's not the most interesting part of the show, but they're not being too bad on him. But yeah, it's a bit sneery. But
Gary, what's your favourite colour? Can I ask you that?
Yellow.
It's yellow, right? Okay. Apparently, according to this chart that I've got, according to this chart, Gary,
is it fellatio?
Well, I know that you like to carry a yellow handkerchief in your bottom left pocket.
No,
but according to this, according to this guide, you're into water sports. Can you confirm or deny that?
I can deny it, and I'd say this. I'm not. It's nothing wrong. Like I just happen not to be gay, right? But there are gay activities I could, I think, oh, okay, I can see, I can see the benefit of that. Water sports, I've always thought, with a man or a woman, like my worst thing that I would never want to engage. I'd rather the other way, scat. But because, me and you, actually, you probably suffer this as well. My bladder is my most personal thing in the world. Actually, we told a story on Patreon of weeing into a champagne bottle in a limousine, which if you want to hear that, go on to Patreon.
Pay £5 to hear that.
It was the worst moment. A wee for me is like, either someone else's wee or my wee is like the most private, personal thing. I would rather have a poo in front of someone than wee, because it's like, and my bladder, I'd say, no, water sports, I can deny it. If it was anything else, I would say.
I'll tell you what, I was watching I May Destroy You, which, just caught up on it. I'm like 5 episodes in, and it is a fantastic series. And there are so many scenes of people on toilets and... I'm just like,
I don't like that. I hate that.
Don't get me wrong. I know it's like a real thing that people do. I don't want to see it on telly.
No, you are a brute. And so am I in that respect. But
yeah, I know. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying we should. I think we should show this stuff. But people will be like, oh, good on people for showing that. But I'm like, no, I don't want to see that really. Sorry, but I'll just go on some of these. But I'm so with you on this. But I'll just go into some of these. And of course, we take all of these with a pinch of salt, knowing that they're is a load of shit. All of the different colours.
I've been around
Soho.
steam sauna, I think it's called. There's a sauna in Soho that's quite close to the McDonald's, so I often kind of walk past it. And what's it called? I can't remember. But yeah, you go in there, and apparently I haven't been, but you can have like different colours of like stuff to put on your towel, like to tuck into your towel, because you walk around in towels in saunas, like, and it's different colours. So it is, these are real things.
Where do you keep your change, like your pocket change in your phone?
Well, I assume you have a locker.
Yeah. I was supposed, because it's a sauna. Have you ever been to a sauna? Email us, spinnerspodcast@gmail.com. Genuinely interested.
It's like going to the swimming pool, but you get wanked off.
Yeah.
The fog. So yeah, go into some of the colours. Gone.
Black is heavy S&M. So heavy S&M.
Is S&M masochism? S and M?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know what that would be. I've never really understood that, by the way.
What, BDSM?
Yeah, I don't really understand.
It's like dominatrix, and like it's like being very powerful.
But someone's really dominant, and then you've got a weak person who doesn't.
Dominant and submission, and it's all about the relationship, the power dynamic between those two. Usually,
are you talking about BDSM now or our relationship? Because it could be either.
I tell you what, if I was kneeling underneath you and you were in chains and whips, like in a gimp mask, I would.
Why do you think it would be that way around? I think I'd be the mask. Anyway, go on. Yeah.
So red is fisting, which is apparently what I would be into, because that's my favourite colour. Yellow we've covered. Dark blue is anal sex. Light blue.
They're all into anal sex. Actually.
Well, I don't know. I wouldn't confirm nor deny that. If I was on a university course, I would never say something like that.
No, shut up. Don't try and get me in trouble. I feel bad. No, I'm just saying like natural people are into penetrative sex, like so straight people, bisexual people, queer, lesbian, whatever, tend to be into penetrative sex. Well, maybe not lesbians, but so take that as a given. So if you wear a blue hanky, it's like a waste, really, because it's like, I'm into anal sex. Well, yeah, I know that. What else? I want to know what your fetish is.
But what about if you pull it out and it's like one of those clown hands?
Who did that? Like the magicians.
Yeah. What about if it turns out like that? Anyway, that's a load of old shit. Something that I do like. Yeah. Paul Daniels turns out is into fisting.
It's got every colour. Like,
he's into everything. He goes, Debbie, got an idea for you. I love Karl's dad's shoe stop story. Shoe stop story. I love that story. Just the idea of going into a shoe shop, put your old ones out there, take new ones out. But that's not a practical big thing, because the ones on display are usually, if they've got to be your size, which I've always felt a bit weird, like about trying on. Did you ever do that as a kid? Like, well, you do it all the time, don't you? When you try and stop the shoe that's on display, but every foot has been in that. And is it just an urban myth?
No, I've never tried that. I don't try on the shoe that's on display. You go and ask them to get your size, and then there's a fresh box.
No, but when you're a kid, it was usually one on display. Yeah, but if it was like a size 8 and they didn't have a size 8, I'd go, oh, do you want to try that? Is it an urban myth, right, that if you don't wear socks in the shoe shop, you're not allowed to wear the shoe on display? Or does the shoe shop provide you with like a sock? Like when you PE kit, when you don't have PE kit, you have to take like the smelly.
No, they weren't. If it was like JD Sports trainers, they probably wouldn't. If it was like Dulcis, they might say, yes, you need to come back in socks to try this on. I'm sorry about that, but I don't think it happens very much, because the vast majority of people wear socks. Those that don't,
not XFM listeners, they don't.
Well, yeah, but they're not allowed. But they don't go to shoe shops either. They just have their pair of shoes they had when they were 16 for the rest of their life. It's interesting something Steve says, and it actually relates to the show. He's actually kind of talking, he doesn't realise, but it relates, I think, to the XFM shows, where he talks about the Beatles and makes a good point. Like, it's like I've used them up. It's a good way to phrase it, actually. And I love the show. I love the XFM shows. We all do. But there is an element of using them up if you listen to certain episodes over and over again, and you need to. I always feel I need a break and need to move on to a different series for a few months on that series before going back to the old ones, because you can use these shows up. Do you know what I mean? It's like great band, like you're talking about the Beatles, the most successful band ever, but you can use them up even though it's brilliant. I don't, if you listen time and time again to an episode over a few weeks, you kind of, it gets a bit samey. You want to move on and move series and different times. So that actually, what he says about the Beatles, I think applies to the XFM shows as well. Which is it's no slight on the XFM shows. It's
no. But there are a few things in life that I would return to as much as the XFM shows.
Yeah,
and I think nowadays in our culture of like consumption, it's all about instant gratification. It's like, I've done that. What's the next series? Done that. What's the next series? But I love returning to series that, strike me or they resonate with me. And this is one of them. I want to know if there's any listeners out there who have ever got like bored of the shows or have stopped listening to the shows for any reason. Another thing is, like, do they find that they're different? There was that whole thing with Netflix and Friends being brought onto Netflix. Do people like reassess the shows now in reflection of like modern times and see them or hear them differently? Because for me, I'm not bothered about that stuff. That stuff doesn't bother me. That context, I could listen to them in any context and I will always find them funny. I don't think I'd question it as much. I would just look at it as a product of its time.
You're asking the audience if they get bored of the show. Okay, let us know. But I'm not saying I get bored of the shows. I'm saying a natural process is you listen to something great. Like Steve, as he's saying, he loves the Beatles. Everyone kind of likes the Beatles. But if you listen continually to shows and over again, all I'm saying is not that I take a break from the XFM shows. We all, us two and listeners, are constantly listening to them, and that's why you probably don't kind of reassess them in modern times, because to reassess something like Friends, if you haven't seen Friends for 5 years and suddenly you see an episode, you kind of reassess it, but you don't have that process of reassessing when you're continually listening to the shows, which we all do, and I do. But I'm saying, like, that's why I move series sometimes. I will spend time on series 3 and a bit of 4 for like a few months, like go through those 10 shows, because and then when I come back to series 2, it's fresher and it's nicer and it's nicer to listen to. But as I say, I can listen to certain shows over again and I don't get bored of them. But it's like you do kind of use it up, and you go on to a new show or new series. This is what I do, and listen to that for a while, and then you come back and it's even better. It never gets boring. Don't get me wrong. There are shows we've reviewed that are not as good as others, and they might get boring. But overall, it doesn't get boring. But it does. You do use it up. I know what he means by that phrase, and I think it applies to shows. It's not a criticism of them. It would apply to any. Yeah. If I watched The Office over and over again all the time, it wouldn't be as funny or as special to watch it. You need a break of a year and go back to The Office. With this, there's so many episodes, you can go to a different series. That's what I do.
If I had to ask you, Gary, if you had if you had Chang and Ang there, a little conjoined twins, what would you like to see them do if you were to spend the day with them?
Well, it's funny you should say that, because I actually thought of a few things. The thing I would like them to do was to see them tie their shoelaces, because out of everything, that must be hard, like, to get the knot, like, and you're two different people. Is one of you controlling the left hand? Yes.
And the other... Yes. Right, so it's two.
Yes, it's two people. Do you know what I mean? So to tie a shoelace, even though it's quite a simple thing,
but you couldn't even wash up exactly. But wash up, you've got to be like.
They probably had Velcro.
Yeah.
They probably have Velcro.
Probably have Velcro.
I don't think. Yeah.
Oh, can you just imagine, like, just like typing or something like that? I've never thought about that, actually. That's a good point.
No, you can't type. You can't. I mean, one of you will write. Like, what if I don't? Do you? There isn't anything like you're left-handed or right-handed, because you both got. Like, if the left-handed one would have been right-handed if you had another hand, that would be really annoying, because you've only got one hand and you can't write with it, and then you're right next to someone who can write perfectly. But at least then he does all the writing and you don't have to. And then you could help with the washing up.
Pull your pants down for the person next door. And there's that bit in An Idiot Abroad where he goes, he's going to Iceland, he's going to meet some Inuits, going to meet some Eskimos. That's what Ricky says, and he changed it to Inuits. So I can't say that
it says you can't
anymore. Then Karl goes, he's just sitting there, sort of like open mouthed, and he says, who's made that little problem up? I think there is a case, obviously, for being PC. I don't think it's important and all this stuff. But he is so right, in my opinion, that he says, who's made that little problem up? He goes, as if that is a huge problem where they live. But not just that. He's saying it's always the people that aren't offended by something that want to be offended by something.
Yeah, I agree with that point. Actually, there are circumstances where, little things that seem little.
Because it's like we're talking about conjoined and Siamese.
Yeah, let me say it. Yeah, no, but there are things like there was a big thing in America about there was a team called the Redskins, and to me, I'm not like we'll never understand what it's like for a team to be called that, but for Native American Indians actually lobbied to get the name changed, and it was changed. Where I agree with you, so that I'm saying there are like, if it's offensive, we don't know it's offensive because we're not impacted by it, so we don't know. But I do agree with the part about people who aren't affected by this being the ones fighting for it, when the people who are affected by it literally don't care. Now, if that's the case, and it sometimes is, then absolutely, people just trying to be like eco warriors or like warriors, like, oh, I'm going to change this, I'm going to get equality for these people, but they don't want it. They have no interest in it. Now, where the people affected by it, I think it's a problem. It's a problem. Where they don't, it's not a problem. I don't know with the Eskimo one, but when Karl says that, he's kind of coming at it from a kind of childlike point of view, which is quite why he's so sweet and kind of is, even though where he says that, and actually he's wrong, because it's not a little problem probably to certain people, but it's still funny to hear him say it. With Siamese twins, the Siamese probably now, they're conjoined twins now because that was offensive. I don't know who changed that. You just live in the world, don't you? Something's changed.
I wonder if we get a scientist out there to connect us two together.
I'm going to say something like Ricky,
and then we could do a podcast all the time.
I'm not pretending to be Ricky, but no scientists listen to this show. There are no scientists listening. We just have a scientist on speed dial so we could kind of ask him questions.
Yeah.
No, but if you say Siamese twins, it's probably not the most offensive thing in the world. But if people want to go with conjoined twins, just live with it and go and call them conjoined twins, and then you can remain on your course of study. That relates. Sorry, I was just being. I'm adding a bit there, but it's let's not say it now. But again, I think it was last week, was it? And this week produced two of the most classic and my favourite lines from Cheeky Freak of the Week. I love it, and I'll come to it in my favourite quotes. But it's just, I love hearing that. I could hear that all day. That thing I just said about using something up, I would never use that up. Certain bits like Gerald Preston, which you don't like, but I could never use Gerald Preston up. But yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, that's a hook, and that's something to come up after the break.
Welcome back. It's Gary here. Hi. I hope you had a nice break. And, when we have a break, you can always pause the show and have 5 minutes to yourself as well if you want to do that. I don't know if listeners do that. I would if I was listening to a podcast. But, we're going to do our favourite quotes now. But just a couple of little things I want to say. One thing is, right, I've always thought this. A lot of people use this Rockbuster as an example of like how bad Karl's Rockbusters were. Lots of people do. You do. Other people have online. I've seen it. Metallica.
Yeah, I was going to say this point as well.
It actually, when you say make Metallica sound like Metallica, well, it actually does sound like Metallica. It's like there's examples of where Karl's Rockbusters don't work at all, and it is a different word, and it doesn't really sound like it. But Metallica, right? You say, oh yeah, he did Metallica for Metallica. Yeah, right. That's pretty much it. That's pretty much. It doesn't have to be literally exact, or it'll be the exact phrase.
I'm pretty sure that's how they came up with the name.
What?
Why are those three blokes licking on steel? Metallica.
Now you're being stupid. You're just taking it too far, and you've ruined it. No, I don't want to speak about it anymore. No, but it's a case like it's interesting because it works. It doesn't. It's not an example of a bad clue. Like make Metallica sound like Metallica. Well, it just does. It does.
Metallica.
It does Metallica. Anyway.
Yeah, I agree.
I think it works. And I picked up on something, because we always talk about this, like, what phrases in the show do you use in your real life? One I use it with you quite a lot, actually, is they might as well have been speaking French. That's a great one to say, like, to someone who doesn't understand, like, or I might as well have been speaking French then, Miles. It's a nice phrase to use. It's just one I use, just another example. If you've got any of examples that you use from this show or another show, do tweet us or get in touch. But now, favourite quotes.
Yeah, let's get on.
I've got a lot from this episode, actually.
I've got more than I thought. One of them's incredibly long, but I'll do it justice, hopefully. Okay, let's go. Oh, Rockbusters.
Yeah, that's good. No, but I much prefer the one, I can't remember, it's in a later show, I think, where he goes, have we got a jingle for, and he goes, no, it'll probably be something like, Rockbusters. That's much funnier. Like, he just does it like that. He's a little French fella, just like that, a fella.
Just a little detail.
Fella. He's a little French fella.
Oh, do you know what? I was actually
unnecessary detail. Yeah.
It was quite funny, actually, because I was talking on one of my WhatsApp groups, my friends, and I was saying, have you seen? We were talking about It's a Sin. I was saying, have you seen It's a Sin?
You had other friends.
Yeah, it was 2 or 3. Get through the ranks. It's a Sin, which is a phenomenal series on Channel 4. You can catch it on the 4 OD service. And I was like, that was the story about the little Welsh fella. And then my friend replied, "You've been listening to too much Ricky Gervais." Because I put, little and fella, insert nationality in between that.
We said this before, and we said, like, no, it doesn't even have to be a nationality. It can be a characteristic. But if you start with little, end with fella, and in between you put something, a characteristic, a nationality, or whatever, a race, if you're being really
is there anything you want to say to all the little Chinese fellas for Chinese New Year, which is today?
Just have a great day,
Year of the Ox.
So I don't know if they all get an ox as a present or something, but don't know how it works there, but I hope you can use it to plough all your fields, if you have any fields. No, I seriously, Happy New Year. I know I've got a friend who's Mongolian, and it's Mongolian New Year, and it combines it with like it's a lunar eclipse or something, or it's a lunar something. So it must be the same, because Mongolia's borders China. So it was a special day for her as well. So it's a big thing there.
Of course it is.
Please.
Halfway through, Steve. I'm Ricky Gervais. That was Mr. Merchant I was referring to there. Steve, familiar. Friends by now. 5 years in the making. Karl Pilkington, I've only known him for a year and a half, but he's a good friend as well. XFM, where paths cross. You can see what I mean, but it's an incredibly long quote.
It's funny, because I had that quote.
But perfectly written, and it's not written, it's just improv. I've used that so many times. I love that.
Yeah, but it's, for me, there's only one bit in that that's funny. It's all fine. Like, I'm not criticising the rest of it, but the rest of it's like just plain. It's just normal. It's like how Ricky talks. It's entertaining, but it's not. But I've had that quote, but I've just got familiar friends by now. Like, that's all. That's the bit that's funny, because like Steve and Ricky, like, friends by now is almost insulting to Steve to say, like, well, we're about friends by now, but they've been friends.
I was going to come in on this half and go, Miles, Garrett Forrestal, friends by now. Oh, 6 years in the making.
8.
8? Oh, fucking hell.
8.5. That's why we go to spas together. Right, my next one. And you go, yeah, he's over there.
Yeah, he'd go, yeah, he's there.
And you go, yeah, he's over there. That's
nothing going on. Nothing untoward. No, but go Dutch. I don't know if anyone's going to enjoy this. I really enjoy it. Can hear a mouse coming. Can hear a mouse. Can hear a cat coming. Can it? It's just that, and then Steve afterwards just goes, yeah. That's
a weird, yeah.
It really makes me laugh. Can a mouse hear a cat coming, can't it?
No, but that's the thing about this show. There are like those classic lines, and then there's sometimes lines that just make one of us laugh. Like, and it doesn't make most people laugh, but it just you enjoy it.
He's trying to get it in so quick.
Yeah, it's good. They get up to some weird stuff.
Yeah, there's that little dodgy line, and I don't want to be one of these people that reassesses the shows. Karl, you're like a gay the way you jump around from head to head. Yeah. Now, of course, you definitely wouldn't say. You wouldn't probably say that then, because
yeah. But it's just, again, it's it's that thing about what he said about the Inuits. It's almost excused, probably wrongly, maybe morally, but because he's being childlike, because his role is to be childlike, not just his personality, but his role in that moment is to be childlike. And if a child, often children say that man looks different, that why are they different there? You know, you sort of say that as a child, and it's kind of it's not ideal, but it's okay, and that's kind of Karl's role. That's why he says those things. So I don't think it's offensive. He meant it to be offensive, but I would never say it now. You'd never say it now. I just like the way he says this. What I don't understand is you maintain that whilst looking at a Spanish man dressed as a fireman. I just like the way he says it's kind of slightly trips over himself in that deliberate way.
My next one is, what, both of them? He goes, yeah. It's just, again, talking about the Siamese twins, saying, well, both of them, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, as if, you know, it gets by, not a laugh, but
no,
funny.
Good.
Yeah, cool.
Good line, I like it. This one is a classic. We all know it. I'm going to do everything in my power to destroy you. And I like something about it, because it's something that makes it even more entertaining, is because Steve's accent, his Bristol accent, is not a strong Bristol accent, but it really, sometimes it comes out strong. And on the word you, it really comes out like, I'm going to do everything in my power to destroy you. Just go back and listen. It really sounds Bristol, and it makes it just even more like sinister.
Well, do you know what? In that story, he does slip up one of his words, and goodness me, as if I'm one to say. But he says there was a boyfriend who was talking to his gay boyfriend. Well, yeah, obviously.
It's a tautology. That's a tautology.
What do you mean?
It's a tautology. When tautology is like when you say, I've got a liquidy drink. You're describing it twice unnecessarily. One of the words, like if it's a drink, it's going to be liquidy. Or phone boxes. That's a nice little, because it's he's a
I
nice.
love how there's an episode where they go talk about ugly fat women.
Again,
we've talked about that before. We go and it says, how many radio shows can say that we talked about this stuff? And it's the fact that they can just go from subject to subject to subject, and it's like it's the smoothest thing in the world. My next one is
all this thing about being offensive is like, I've just thought because Ricky and Steve say the offensive things as well, but it was just the presence of Karl was what allowed them to get away with it. Because you made a good point just then. I agree with you. You know, you might think, oh, it's not all right today, but you know, we're only talking 2003. It wasn't all right then as well. Like, you're right. It's not like 1963. So it's kind of just the presence of Karl allowed them to kind of, and they say it a few times, like what other radio show would talk about this or this. And I think it's because of Karl being there. Other than that, they would not have got away with it. But
I don't think those subjects would have come out had Karl never talked about it. But my next one is, I actually think this is probably one of my favourite quotes of all time, which is ironic because it's not one of my favourite episodes. Isn't that Bay City Rollers song?
Yeah, I love it.
Something about
no.
It's the fact it's Bay City Rollers, which are a bit.
You know why he says that, don't you? You know why he says Bay City Rollers?
No.
Because they've got a song called Shangalang.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Now, the song might not be called Shangalang, but the main lyrics are Shangalang. So it's like
that's kind of ruined the joke for me now, because I thought there was no link.
It's funnier if you know that. Like, it actually makes sense. Like, isn't that a basic Roller song? So you like that quote, and it's your favourite quote ever, but you didn't know. You just thought it was a random. I guess it would be funny as well if it was just completely random. And you didn't.
Well, that's what I mean. You could have said, is that an S Club 7 song? Like, you could have said.
It's because they've got a song called Shangalang. It's even fun. That's what makes it funny. I've got that in my favourite quotes as well. But he is playing boogie. But is he playing boogie? Oh. But actually, I don't know which way around it is. I'll put it.
Is that tongue twister?
Anyway, but he is playing boogie woogie over their tracks.
Yeah, definitely. Like this is all part of it.
Oh, was that a quote, or you just saying?
Yeah, that's a quote.
Okay, yeah. No, that's good. Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
And then Ricky going, this is all part of it.
This is part of it, yeah. I've got them familiar friends by now. That was my quote. He loved them.
He loved them. My last two, and I'm going to say these together. Oh, God, I feel so sorry for Steve during this bit. Have you got a ruler, Rick? And, of course, ellipsis, Steve.
Steve, yeah.
That story, oh, my God. And I've actually seen images of this. When the imprint of your eyes is left when you press your glasses to the pupil, and
Most
it
people
leaves. No, but he's talking about his eyes being a bit bulbous, and it leaves like an imprint on the glass spectrum.
Right.
Can you see? I mean, it's radio.
Your eyes don't bulge out far enough.
My eyes obviously don't. Of course they don't.
Touch your asses. Your asses.
Your asses.
Your asses don't touch your eye, even though your glasses don't touch your eye.
No.
So you don't have an imprint.
No, but there are. I've seen it. Imagine when
I know.
Leave a mark on your glasses. Like I have to really like.
But I honestly I'm not promoting my own tweets, but that mashup I did, half of the face was one of those monkeys and half was Steve, and there is so much similarity. Obviously they're different, but they do bulge out a lot in the monkey and Steve. And yeah, I love those quotes as well. Okay, this is a funny one. What did you say? Yeah, a bit where like because they're talking about he's saying, well, we don't get it, but Karl probably understand it. You know, what did he say? He doesn't even like know the words that they've just spoken, let alone the explanation.
He probably's got no interest or just
I know, yeah, but it's very funny. And again, that's part of Karl's role. Like I think he answered in that way because he knows his role, and good on him for it. Well, this is the problem. They're going to crop up quite a lot because they got double the chance.
Oh, that was in there, and then they deleted it. I knew you.
That's
a nice follow up to last week's, isn't it?
Last week's, yeah. They should have looked both ways. Those two quotes from Chicken Food of the Week of two of my favourite quotes of all time. That last one last week was probably slightly above this one, but this one I love. It's just because it's the way he says double the chance. He gets quicker when he says that. So, well, this is the problem. They're going to crop up quite a lot because and he pauses slightly, double the chance. It's such a funny thing to say. And then my last one, which we done, isn't that a Bay City Rollers song? So
isn't that Bay City Rollers song? What are your favourite quotes? Do you email in, spin this podcast?
I just told you. Email. Oh, you were talking to the listeners. I'm just joking.
So, right. Trout, Spinners Podcast on Twitter as well. Right. Guys, before we wrap the show up with a little bit of XFM in the community and our favourite songs for the Trout Spinners library, I just want to say we've got the Chortle Comedy Awards 2021 coming up, and they're looking for their lockdown heroes. It'd be great if anyone could nominate us. Also, if you could give us a rating, a 5-star rating, no less, on the Apple Podcast platform, that'd be greatly appreciated. If you want to throw in a few words as well, that'd be great too. Anything to add?
That will go to
I want to win an award, Gary. I want to win an award.
We need 5-star reviews to counter a lot of the negativity that's been flying around lately. No, it hasn't. But we're not under any pretense. Listen, if I was nominating a hero of lockdown, I'd probably nominate a fireman or something because they'd probably save some lives. Yeah. But in relative terms, if you're just counting podcasts, then it would be nice if you gave us a nomination for that. But we're not holding out any hope. But it's just nice to win things. And as Miles said to me the other day, he'd love to win a bronze if they did a bronze award. Like that would be perfect for this show if we won a bronze.
I am not interested in a gold award.
No, silver, fuck it. So anyway, we'll do now. Like some weeks we have lots, some weeks we have less. We can't pretend we can't make it up, but we've got a bit of XFM in the community now.
We do. So we've got one from our Patreon, one of our patrons, and just a reminder, if you do want to access any extra content of Gary and Miles and just like lots of nonsense, our partner sister show His Little Legs is available on Patreon, and submit anything of £100 upwards, whatever you want. This is from Rob Banks, and Rob last week was telling us he actually did a comedy course. He started a comedy course as something to keep him busy during lockdown, and he sent us his 5-minute stand-up routine that he did after his first session. I have to say, I was just so astonished that someone had so much confidence to do something like that in front of a camera, and it was great.
I haven't seen it yet, Rob, but I will have listened. I'm going to be recording my own one in the next day or two for a competition, which you should also enter. But probably by the time this goes out, I'll have recorded it. But don't know.
It makes me so warm when I see people do well in things. I don't know why. It makes me so happy.
Yeah. Well, because Rob said like a few weeks ago that he listened to this show and us talking about stand-up, and that's what made him go to the stand-up course, which he's on. So presumably he's done a routine now for the stand-up course, which is nice. Very nice, Rob.
And he says, you may know this, but just in case, Ian Morris is the commissioning editor of Channel 4, partnered with Damon Beasley to write The Inbetweeners, and the two gay characters in Extras who worked on When the Whistle Blows were named after those two guys. Obviously a joke from Ricky. I did know that already, but I think that's really good.
Oh, I've got a little fact as well. The Rufus, who's mentioned in this episode that we're reviewing, Rufus, when he talks about hearing the gay people on the train. I don't like saying that.
Oh, right, yeah.
He says, it's Rufus. So Rufus actually appeared in Extras as well. He's a friend of Steve's, and he was a regular guest on the Steve show. Very posh guy, apparently.
Oh, anyway, really?
He's got a page on Wikipedia.
This next one's from Steve Weller. He said, we've both had COVID and have had to isolate, so I banned from playing anything Ricky related. Still in secret though. Love the latest podcasts. Steve was he'd gone quiet for a little bit over Twitter, but he's catching up on all of the shows. But yeah, please,
Steve, mate.
Yeah, Steve, get well soon. I hope.
Yeah. Sorry to hear that. I mean, at least you're not going to get it now, and you'll be pretty much immune, but it must have been horrible. I hope you didn't have a bad version of it. I've known some people have it and it'd be nothing, and some people have it and it'd be really bad. So glad you're getting better anyway, mate. And thanks for your minute. And also, because I didn't really probably reply to Rob, thanks for your email, and I will listen to your stand. I will watch your stand up, but thanks so much for sending it to us as well.
Proper brave thing to do. God. And lastly, this is, I spend a lot of my time kind of searching the show on Google just to see what the general consensus of what people are saying. And I was on the Reddit thread just trying to catch up on, and I genuinely I'm joking, I was on Reddit just like looking up some stuff, and someone had posted this post, and it says, is the Trout Spinners podcast any good? Also, it's like saying the Trout Spinners is like saying pin number.
Which I explained to Miles that's a tautology again. It's the same thing. We were talking earlier about tautology. Pin number. It's an N is the number anyway. So the D is like a tautology. Two uses of the same phrase.
And in this poll, there was basically yes or a Noah option. Gary, do you want to know? Do you want to know the results?
Could I just say the fact that it was yes and Noah, because I think a lot of people would have been attracted to putting Noah because it's Noah and not no, and it's more interesting answer to give. So I'm just, weighing up like trying to excuses at this stage. But I think more people would have clicked on Noah. So go on. The fact you're saying I don't.
I just want, if you're listening to this, uppercase FZBTZ, because I'm always up for getting new people listening to this show. It was 69 people took part in this vote. Okay, which isn't too much. 31 yes, 38 Noah. Gary Forrestal.
Okay, that's okay, because half the people probably I'm not too fussed about that, because if you let's extrapolate that, right, and say that about 45% of XFM fans are potential listeners. So you've got the people who are aware of the XFM show and like it, like we do. There's not many, but there's probably in the thousands in this country and across the world. Probably in the low to mid thousands, maybe 10,000, something like that. So if that's so like 5,000 of them probably wouldn't listen to us. 5,000 might do one day. They're not yet, but so that's if you extrapolate that, it's not terrible. I thought it was going to be like 90% said no, and definitely Noah as an option will attract more people to click on it. Like, so basically you get people who click yes because yes, that's their answer, they like listening. People who click no because they don't like listening, they've listened once, they don't like it. And also people who have no idea, they haven't listened before and they don't know, so they just got to click something if they want to participate, and they'll probably click Noah because it's a more interesting option, it's a funnier option to pick. There you go, that's my reasoning.
But yeah, some of the comments were, I only listened to one with Dickers, and I'd say it's worth a listen. thanks for that. I've just started listening to them and started from the first one. I've stopped now to re-listen to the actual XFM shows and listen to the corresponding Spinners podcast right after this to the XFM
That's
shows.
perfect. That's what we want, isn't it? Like,
anyway, I'd say it's pretty good, but only if you can hack the hosts.
Yeah.
I actually think they're really funny and have good chemistry, making it a decent listen in its own right. I'd say it's worth it. We can, of course, we can be annoying, and I think that's the case for the large majority of podcasts out there.
Well, Johnny Vaughan is the most annoying person I've ever listened to on radio, and Ricky Gervais is the second most annoying. And they're two people I love to listen to. Well, I'm not comparing us to them. I'm just saying that being annoying is like you can be all right and annoying. You can also be annoying and shit. Now, I don't know which we are, but we fall into one of those.
I think it's a really hard thing as well. Like, to be honest, fan podcasts are a niche anyway, aren't they? You've got to really like something, and then you've got to really like the thing that you're listening to about being a fan of.
Yeah, I think I like the fact we don't. Yeah, probably we do come across annoying some people, but we try and present in a very unstructured way. We're not trying to copy Ricky and Steve, but we're obviously informed by that style, and like we just like it. Not because we're copying, we just kind of we're different.
But that's always the problem you're going to get with like Ricky Gervais, like with any kind of fan podcast or any kind of fan medium, is you got the real hardcore fans, and they're really passionate, and they're going to kind of expect you to be like the thing that you're talking about,
which we do. We cover that. We
have covered it, and then,
we know, we don't think we come
but
across
you've also,
like,
it'll be funny, but you've also got to do your own thing in your own right. Like if we were to do, I'm not washing my dirty laundry out. I'm not hanging my dirty laundry out to dry. But what I'm saying is, if you wanted to listen to XFM shows, you would just listen to XFM shows, wouldn't you? Which is kind of what I would do.
A lot of people do. That's why that poll, 38 people are like, no, I just want the XFM shows. I don't really want a podcast.
So this is the last one. It took me a few episodes to get used to the format and the hosts, but I've grown really fond of both of them and their banter. They crack me up in their own right from time to time. They strayed a bit too much from the XFM content for my taste in the early episodes, but I think they found their footing around 10 episodes in. So any new listeners, start from episode 11. I still sometimes wish they'd go into more of the actual content of each individual episode, but it's still very enjoyable to listen to. The hosts have their own good thing going on, and I've really come to enjoy that. They're clearly huge fans of the show and know their shit. Definitely give it a shot and give them a chance to hook you. Take a few episodes. But to me, it's definitely worth it, which is kind of what I was saying, more or less.
That's a fair comment. We both said, like, oh God, people starting on show 1 or 2. We weren't like, shit, we're not different to how we are now. But you go to any show on YouTube, you can click by date, and you go to their early episodes, whatever they like, however confident they are or funny or whatever, they are so different in their early shows, and we probably were too. And we weren't really different, but that's a good comment, because we probably have found our footing. We know, right? We know out there is a difference of opinion on how we introduce the shows and like how much we should talk about XFM, which some people would want the whole show right from the beginning to the end to be about in detail about the episode. Some people like there being a looser chat at the beginning about just random stuff and us kind of digressing a bit. So we can never satisfy everyone with that. So we kind of done what we feel is best. But you can always leave your comments, because if we get a lot of comments saying one particular thing, we will look to kind of adapt and be fluid in how we approach the show. But in general,
like Gary's approach when he's dating. That's what he does.
No, I'm not fluid when I'm dating. I like dating one. I have one set thing. I have a script I go with. If they deviate from that script, I just leave. Leave us your opinion. So those were comments on Reddit. That's why we didn't read out their names, because they don't really have names on Reddit. They're just comments. But you can always comment on those aspects that they've commented on, or other aspects. Let us know what you think.
Gary,
before we go, I'm gonna do your role again. But before we go, we've got the XFM Vault, the XFM Library. I like to call it the Vault.
Yeah.
Where we keep songs, and Mars puts links to the website download simulator. And, yeah. Anyway, I'll go first this week. So we picked 2 songs basically that you can kind of listen to that mean something to us. So actually,
on the Spotify playlist.
I've been listening to this song a lot, and I I'd say it's my favourite song, and because I picked it because there's talk about the Beatles this week, and I haven't never picked a Beatles song. My favourite Beatles song, We Can Work It Out.
Oh, that's a good Beatles.
Do you know that song? Would you know it? You're not everyone does. It's not that well known. I mean, it's among, like, for a Beatles song, it's not that well known. It's the only song that was written jointly by Lennon and McCartney. Like, every song is credited to Lennon and McCartney. That's the way they did it. But inevitably, each one wrote one particular song, and they both wrote on that song equally, and they both sing on it. And it's particularly John Lennon's bit that I like. But yeah, great song.
I've always found it really weird that people, they're obviously listed as contemporaries, but they're always like, in the same way that it was like Blur or Oasis, they always said like Stones or Beatles. I never ever, I obviously didn't grow up during that time, but I don't see how the two are comparable. I see them as so different. I think there's a lot of similarities between Oasis and Blur, but stylistically they're completely different, and their approach and their lyrics are...
Stones' early stuff is like, they were actually accused, the Stones, of kind of really copying the Beatles, and they fell out with, I think, John Lennon, because he was like, you're just copying our material and it's not as good, you know. And they kind of probably were doing that, but yeah, like how they've become now, you listen to a Stones and Beatles song, they're not that comparable. But think of this, listen to a Blur song, a typical Blur song, and then listen to an Oasis song. They're not comparable.
They're not at all.
Now, people think they are. Oh, it's Britpop. It's just similar music, but it's not. So Stones and Beatles probably were in those times like a real, like, which one are you picking? Like, same with Blur and Oasis, but they are very different. So I think that did exist. What you're saying, but
my favourite Beatles song is In My Life.
For Blackbird's another great one.
Yeah, like that. I don't know why. So I've been watching a lot of old live performances during lockdown and looking at, I'm kind of like a early noughties kind of indie kid at the time. So the song I'm going to pick is, again, it's a really like standard choice, but it's not Spotify. No, but it's the Killers and Mr. Brightside, because I don't think there's anyone around my age who hasn't had at least so many significant moments in their life signposted by that song. I actually think it's a really important song, and I think it's a really significant song in the way that we kind of see it now.
I agree. It's so
much joy for me in that time. I don't know.
Joy and pain. Do you feel like, because that song to me is associated with good moments, bad moments. It's like, I'm not saying we've all literally kissed to it, but probably you've kind of dated to it when it's been playing pubs, and I've like bad moments, like breakup moments.
The best songs
like,
do that, though,
the lyrics are very profound, and it's a great song. You know, people slag it off because it's become so commercial, but so what? It doesn't mean just because it's became so commercial that it's a bad song. It just happened to become commercial. Like, so great song, great lyrics, and you can listen to them if you click on the poster. Smart. Below.
Yeah, it'll be linked to the description. It's basically a compilation playlist. Anyway, guys, thank you for listening. If any Detroities want to get in touch, spinnerspodcast@gmail.com or spinnerspodcast on Twitter. You can catch me on Instagram if you want to follow me. Gary's not there, but I am.
You can catch me on the streets of Brighton or around Preston Park near a pond. That's like...
Can you imagine if someone was just going, Gary?
Yeah, someone ever said, Gary.
Hello, my son is also called Gary.
Classic, Brett, but brilliant reference. And Andy, I hope you're listening. There, we got a Simpsons reference in. Also, listen to Stay at Homer, because the Simpsons podcast, they're great. They do great stuff, and they're two good guys. So listen to that as well.
What are you going to do for the rest of your weekend?
Well, I've got another little mini bottle of wine in the fridge, so I might crack that open. I
enjoy that glass of wine by the duck pond.
No, seriously, I'll be working. I work over the weekend. That's what I use that time for work.
I've got a writer's competition.
It's a boring answer, but it's very boring. I just said.
I don't think anyone's doing anything exciting now. So
not a liar. Yeah, but whatever you're doing, Trouties, this will probably go out on Sunday, so you probably had most of your weekend by now. Hope you enjoyed it. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and have a great week next week, and look forward to our review of episode 42.
Bye.